Well, hello there. Welcome back to Chasing Labels. Of course, I'm Stephen Billings, and with me, as always, is the Mr. Chasing Labels himself, Andrew Cabral.
Nice.
Um,
Thank you very much for that lovely intro. I need a shirt that says Mr. Chasing
you
Labels.
know, I always put Mister at the beginning of everybody's name. So, I mean, I'm not saying you're not special, Andrew, but
Hmm.
I do say Mister everybody.
It is a sign of respect, I would say.
I,
So it is nice to hear it.
well,
No
I'll
one
get
ever
you.
calls me Mr. I'm in my late 30s and I still don't view myself as a Mr. Like that's my dad. My dad is Mr.
Mr.
Cabral.
Cabral.
Yeah. Like I never
well,
would want people to call me that.
Well, I'll get you. We'll put a shirt on our Etsy, Mister Andrew Cabral.
Nice. Mr.
but
Manager.
Yeah. But let's get on target here. We are here for another Criterion Blu-ray review. We are now in the month of March of 2026, and as usual, Criterion has their March slate slowly rolling out through the month. Me and Andrew have a couple more releases from that month that we're going to talk about. But before we get to them, let's discuss what's already come out in this month, because the ones that we are discussing are, I believe, the last two releases of the month. So, Andrew, I know you're popping it up now. Can you
Yes.
tell us what were the other releases that have already been released this month?
So this month we've gotten a release of the Louis Buñuel film Viridiana, which is a 4K Blu-ray as well as a Blu-ray release. That was a nice, DVD to 4K upgrade, skipping a
Yeah.
step there. We got the movie Testament, which is the kind of
Yeah.
1980s, Cold War apocalyptic movie.
It's pretty solid. I have the imprint release of that came out a few years back. So I
Yes.
was like, that's a pretty good release. I'm pretty set on that.
If I do recall, that's an early movie that Kevin Costner was in
He
briefly.
he he plays a brief role of like a um emotional husband that's, I think, looking for his wife, or maybe she died, or so. But
He's in the movie.
He's briefly in it. Yeah.
Yeah, the movie came out in 1983, so it was before the Kevin Costner rise to fame.
It was
That
the
would be the
rise.
mid
There was
80s.
movies like Fandango, and
Oh,
where
yes.
he starred in. He had a couple other ones there before we, of course, got to like the big sports movies, your Bull Durhams and whatnot, and then getting to, of course, Field of Dreams, which I think is
Yeah,
the
The
pinnacle.
Untouchables,
Yeah,
JFK,
yeah.
those types of movies. Uh,
What a
of cour
run!
of course, and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Ah, yes.
Uh, and then the next movie we have is a French film by Claude Sautet, and that is Classe Tous Risqué, um, which I know I covered it here on Chasing Labels, but I covered it months ago, so my mind is completely blanking on it. I know Jean-Paul Belmondo is in it, the great French actor. Um, so yeah, I believe it's a crime gangster type of movie, uh, a French film. Now I have to move over to the coming soon releases because like Steven said, these movies that we're talking about are coming soon. Uh, by the time you watch this, these will probably already be out. So we of course have Killers of the Flower Moon,
Yeah.
which I have here. Make sure I have it right side up. Killers of the Flower Moon, and then Steven has a man and a woman,
Yes.
and then and then there's one more. The Blade is coming out March
Yes.
31st,
Yes.
which is a awesome action movie. Actually,
I
it's
I
actually,
really wanted that release. I was hoping Criterion would send me that one. I'm gonna pick it up probably anyway.
yeah.
But it looked awesome. I was like, dude,
It's
that
directed
looks.
by Sui Hark, who was, of course, from that 1980s run of action films. Sui Hark also
Yeah.
directed Once Upon a Time in China. I think he directed Once Upon a Time in China 1, 2, and 3, and there's a
Mm,
box set from Criterion for that. He directed, I believe, Peking Opera Blues as well.
okay.
But he was part of all those actors of the Hong Kong films of the 1980s. But the movies we are concentrating on will be, like we said, A Man and a Woman and Killers of the Flower Moon, the recent Martin Scorsese film, which is a miracle that this actually got a disc release.
I think people like Scorsese and Del Toro. I think they've made deals. I think they let the Apple and Netflix, they'll let them have their run on the service, and then eventually a physical media release comes out.
You are probably correct in that.
Yeah.
I'm just very surprised that it came out this soon. because the movie did come out in 2023. So
Yeah.
it is about 3 or so years, but
I
that
mean,
still seems like shortened movie in the movie
his movies
timeline.
are coming out quicker to Criterion than Wes Anderson's movies come out to Criterion.
Yeah, those take a while.
Yeah.
Those do take a while. Like the Phoenician Scheme, we'll be waiting a couple of years, I still think, for that.
Shit. Yeah, God. And we're still waiting on what? We're still waiting on are we waiting on any more of his other stuff? Or did it
No,
all come
because
out on that last
we've
box set?
got
Because we
Isle
got
of
Asteroid
Dogs,
City, didn't we? Yeah.
and we got the French Dispatch as
Okay, so
well.
we're caught up. We're good. Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty caught up when it comes to Wes Anderson for Criterion. But I guess we'll start with Steven's
Okay.
pick. What did you think of it? Because I know I saw it and I talked about it on Chasing Labels.
Yeah.
So what did you think of the movie?
Yeah, Man and a Woman, 1966. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get this name, man. The director, Claude Lelouch. Sound right?
Yeah,
That sound good?
pretty good.
Oh, man, I'm working on my French. It still sounds
Becoming cultured, I see.
Lelouch. I'm gonna have to get better at it. I'm doing more and more podcasts. Yeah, so this is pretty simple, straightforward story. You got two widowers who are slowly falling in love. The woman had lost her husband, who was a stuntman. Now, what's cool about this movie, and as I'm starting a podcast that, and here's a little down low info, starting a podcast that are movies about movies. This movie has some like about movies elements in it. Like her husband that she lost was a stuntman, and she herself is a script supervisor. So we're kind of like, our characters are kind of involved in the film industry as our main characters. But as weird as it seems, it's like the normal people work on movies. Like this story could be about these stories could be about anybody, but Claude, the director, the writer, decided to make these people involved in the industry. So that was kind of cool. And then the guy, let me get the names so that I'm not forgetting it. So it's Anna and Jean-Louis. I mean, he's taken his own name as the character. Jean-Louis Durac is the character's name.
Yeah, Jean-Louis
Durac. And he, his wife, well, I guess I shouldn't say everything. I want to give away all the elements there. She passed away as well.
Yeah, he's a race car driver.
He's a race car driver. So like there's a little bit of a tie to her late husband, who, unfortunately, God, I can't say anything else. I'm going to give away the whole movie. There are little things I don't want to give away. So both their children go to the same boarding school, and they kind of like meet by happenstance. And then kind of throughout the movie, we get kind of a very intimate look at their kind of slow but surely like falling for each other a little bit. And throughout the movie, we kind of get glimpses into their past with their previous wife and husbands. There's also a lot of style that changes throughout the film. You go from black and white. Apparently any scene inside somewhere is in black and white. Anything outside is in color. I didn't recognize that at first until I did some research, but that's at first I was like, so what's the significance of changing from black and white to color? Well, apparently it was just a matter of location. And apparently it was the choice to do it started with just a necessity to save money. So, because black and white, of course, is cheaper to shoot on. But yeah, this movie, I really like. I love movies like this because I like the intimate nature. I get really sucked into movies like this where the filmmaker is kind of like doing a lot of close-ups, a lot of like just kind of like you're right there with them, and a lot of just like really intimate conversations and romantic things happen. And it's a movie that I'm a sucker for. I love stuff like this. So yeah, without saying, I don't want to say anything else to give away some of the details, but I think this is a really, really solid movie, really interesting release. And there are, the director is still with us. And I should also say this, I don't know if you know this, Andrew, you probably do, but this movie is kind of the start of a different version of kind of the before trilogy, because this movie has 2 sequels.
Oh, I did not know that.
You didn't know this. Okay. So this movie, 20 years later, the director got back with the 2 actors to do a movie called A Man and a Woman 20 Years Later, right on the point. And then 30 years later, I think, this movie came out in 2019. It's called The Best Years of a Life. And it's with the same director, same actors. And so you get like a 50-year history with these people. So it's like its own little version of the Before trilogy, just over a longer length of time, of course. So I thought that now I'm fascinated to watch these other two movies. So I have to do that. But yeah, there's interviews with the director, new interviews with the director on here, making of documentary. And this movie won the Cannes Film Festival of 1966. So there's that. It also won awards, I think, Best Original Screenplay at the Oscars. It also won Best Foreign Film of that year at the Oscars. And so it's a very, has a lot of accolades. It's has an impression on history, and it's one that I'd never really heard of. So yeah, Man and a Woman, really good, kind of under the radar release for me. So,
and how did the movie look? Because like you said, there is shifting.
Oh yeah,
there is a shifting aesthetic to the movie, and the movie, if I do recall, feels almost like this ethereal, dream-like scenario. It's very art house indie style, like almost very surreal, if you will.
I don't know that I would necessarily use the word surreal. I think for sure the photography in this movie is it was the first thing I noticed. I mean, like the first shots of the movie are these two with their kids, kind of like going out, spending time with their kids in different ways, and they're like on beaches and they're on streets, and they're like, you see that it's like early in the morning, so there's a lot of fog and like atmosphere to the shots. And yeah, for sure, it looks fantastic. I mean, it was like the first thing that just like got me from the beginning, got me glued in on the screen. I don't know that surreal is the word. I think that when you use a word like surreal, it kind of like makes you think that the movie's going to be a certain way, like it's going to like present itself.
Movie, yeah. It's not surreal in the sense like
storytelling wise, it's not surreal at all.
Yes, storytelling wise. I'm talking more so with the cinematography. Because if I do recall the editing specifically, where it is like a lot of intimate moments, like you said, them like laying in bed together, them talking to each other. It's a very intimate movie.
It's intimate. It's also fragmented because you are going back and forth between memories and because like there's like scene where they're having sex, and then we jump to like her thinking about her husband. It's like
you get kind of the inside of the mind look. I just wanted to see what the movie looked, because it is a movie that is now, let's see, 1966 to now is quite a time. That is 60 years?
Yeah. And this is a Blu-ray. This isn't a 4K. So,
gotcha.
And it is a 2K digital restoration supervised by the director. So, I mean, it looks great for me. To me, like, and we've had these discussions before, like, not everything needs a 4K. I think that a movie like this, though maybe it would have looked good on 4K, I think the type of vibe and the kind of like very indie, kind of like low budgety, intimate romance film, I think Blu-ray is perfect for it. It's doesn't need to be overly vibrant. It doesn't need to be overly sharpened, and I think it has a nice grainy filmic look that I like for this type of movie. So I
was just looking up, what, like, has this been available on home media before? And it has a DVD release from 2003. So a Blu-ray is kind of like a revelation, if you will, especially with a new restoration of a movie this old. I'm sure it looks light years better than whatever edition I saw to talk about on Chasing Labels. It looked great. It looks great. I think there's also a short film on there from the director as well, which is always nice, because how else are we going to see these short films from directors? They don't really put those out anywhere. But switching gears, I guess, to something a little more modern. Like I said, 2023 was not that long ago. And switching gears to something that probably did not need a restoration of any kind because it's a brand new movie.
Yeah.
That is Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. Like Steven and I just mentioned, initially this movie was put out on Apple TV Plus, the streaming
Yeah.
service. It was funded by Apple, giving Martin Scorsese tons and tons and tons of money. Between them and Netflix, they keep giving him like hundreds of $1 millions to make his movies. Nobody else is, I guess.
Yeah.
But this is the movie that is an adaptation. Well, it's not based on the book of the same name. I didn't want to say it was an adaptation of, although it is. But it does portray the elements of the book in a different way. Like I said, Killers of the Flower Moon was, I believe, a book that came out in 2017, and it was a book that was about the murders in the Osage people in the Osage land in the 1920s, or honestly, really for the early part of the 20th century, more likely. And this movie, like I said, directed by Martin Scorsese, stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Lily Gladstone, Robert De Niro, several other people are in this movie, but those are the principal characters. And the premise of the movie, how do I say it, Stephen? You have this character in Ernest Burkhart, portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio, and his uncle is Robert De Niro, who is known as like the king of the Osage people. He is this white man who is like friends with the Osage people, and he's kind of a snake in the grass. He really is one of the most evil people. And what happens is, very early on in this movie, literally the first scene of this movie, in the early 20th century, oil was found on the land of the Osage people in Oklahoma. And obviously oil leads to money. But at the time, since, of course, racism, oppression, and greed and all that stuff reigned supreme, the indigenous Osage people could not be responsible legally to handle their own money. So they needed essentially like legal representatives, white people, to handle all of their money, to handle all of their finances and stuff like that.
And also,
and that's when the scheming starts.
Yeah, and also I would assume, maybe I'm wrong about this, for because of like what it takes to actually, like to discover oil is one thing, to be able to facilitate it, to actually make money off of it is a whole other thing.
Yes, so like you have to get it out of the ground, and you got to take it, and it's got to be manufactured. Into other like gasoline and all that
stuff. Who's the people that can make that happen? People with money already.
Right. Very true.
Yeah.
But when it comes to what ended up happening is a lot of people ended up taking advantage of the Osage people, not only financially, but started creating schemes and creating situations in which to have them murdered, have them killed off, in order for their land rights, the money that is gotten from that land, to then be released so that people could scoop it up, or whatever the case may be. But in this story specifically, you have the character of, like I said, Ernest Burkhart and his uncle, portrayed by Leo and Robert De Niro respectively, and they are responsible for one of these most prominent schemes of getting rid of a lot of the Osage indigenous people of that time. And Lily Gladstone specifically is the woman that Leonardo DiCaprio marries, because her family has obviously ties to the oil land, and slowly but surely her family starts dying off. She starts inheriting more of the land and more of the oil money and all this kind of stuff, and it's all purposely done behind the scenes, pretty much by Robert De Niro, with the assistance of the Leonardo DiCaprio character. And I know there's a lot more historical stuff that goes into it, but that's the general plot of this movie. And it is quite a long and harrowing story. This movie clocks in at 206 minutes. It is not a short film, not by any stretch of the imagination. It's a good, was that 3 hours and 46 minutes? Is that the time, Steven? Yeah.
That
That's
sounds about
about
right.
right. Needless to say, it's not an easy film to watch. Even though Martin Scorsese has great pacing, great editing in his movies, great energy in his movies, you still start feeling, you know, the length of this film. I will say, what does get you through the movie, what does suck me in, is that Scorsese's filmmaking is so good. The acting in the movie is so exquisitely well done. Like I said, Robert De Niro is like pure evil in this movie, but he's also like he's outwardly nice, but with evil intentions.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of his best performances he's done in a while. Uh, Leonardo DiCaprio's great. Lily Gladstone, everyone was pulling for her to win an Oscar for this film. I still think, um, I still wish she would have won. I believe that was the year Emma Stone won for Poor Things, um,
I,
which is also a great role. It's
you
tough.
know,
It's tough.
the thing about that is I think that she much more deserved that win over La La Land.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you there. And I know there are people who look at this movie and wish that it was more told from the perspective of the Osage indigenous people.
Yeah.
And that is certainly a part of the movie very much. Like you get a lot of Lily Gladstone's character in this film. You get a lot of the perspective of the Osage people within this community, the elders within the community, the leaders within this community. The movie definitely did a lot to uh, put them in this film.
Yeah.
But the movie, like I said, it's a 3 hour and 40-minute movie. It's predominantly told from the perspective of the Leonardo DiCaprio character, which I kind of understand from a movie making perspective. You want to follow someone along on
Sure.
this plot and this journey to what happens in the movie, what happens to these people, what happens, of the story in general. I mean, it's a historical story, so it's not really a big spoiler about what happens to these people, but I still don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen this movie. I doesn't even know the story, because this story, honestly, probably is not really well known. These murders of these people during this time frame, um, it's really something that's been hidden, been kind of oppressed, been kind of not taught in schools, not taught out in the open, really. It's one of those kind of darker American history secrets that people don't like to talk about. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And the movie definitely brings a lot of that to light. And the, a lot of the special features in here talk about that significantly. That's the one thing I really like about this release. It is a new release, so we do get new features, which is awesome. Um, we get um, we get a 36-minute kind of overall documentary making of. It's a new documentary featuring, it's got Scorsese, it's got DiCaprio, it's got Lily Gladstone, it's got the author of the book, David Gran, it got the Osage Nation Principal Chief Jeffrey Standing Bear, plus a lot of other people within the Osage community whose responsibilities are to educate people. Like they run certain historical places within Oklahoma and stuff like that. So you get that perspective. And there's also something, I can't pronounce this at all. It's probably Osage. It says what Wazazi, a song for the Osage, a new documentary illuminating the film's final shot, featuring Scorsese, Chief Standing Bear, and 6 members of the Osage Nation. So there, the very end of this movie, there's like a little epilogue scene
Yeah.
with that's like a radio show, and Scorsese comes out actually, in the movie as an actor, and kind of gives us an update as to what happened with the Lily Gladstone character, person of Molly, and this little documentary runs about 33 minutes long, and it kind of talks about a lot of the history and things like that about what happened during and the aftermath of these things, because there was criminal trials, there was imprisonments, there was stuff like that that did happen. Um, and then for some other special features, there's an interview on a podcast that runs about 24 minutes long with Rodrigo Prieto, the cinematographer, who's a great cinematographer. He talks about making this movie because um, beautiful cinematography in this movie, just like stunning outdoor nature shots and all kinds of stuff. Also a lot of intimate moments as well that are indoors. And I did also notice, this does lead me to bring up the 4K quality of this release. Like I said, it's a new movie. You expect it to look good. And it indeed does look good. It indeed does.
Thank God.
It says new 4K digital master approved by Martin Scorsese himself. I did watch it in Dolby Vision because it's available in Dolby Vision, and it looks really good. This movie has a lot of earthy tones, a lot of browns, oranges, stuff like that when it comes to just the area of which the movie shot in, the indoor shots, the way the houses look, a lot of the clothes that people wore during the 1920s, browns and stuff like that, hats, things like that. And the movie, kind of reflects all of those things all the time. There's one part of that first documentary I was talking about where I think they have the costuming person who worked on the movie came out and said how accurate they wanted to be to the times in which the movie is set. So they went back and looked at a lot of photographs and video, and they even got like some actual stuff from that time to model the clothing after for the indigenous peoples for the Osage. So I found that to be rather fascinating. But like I said, the movie looks amazing. Brand new movie. It's probably going to probably looks a heck of a lot better than it does on Apple TV Plus, just because streaming has all streaming, regardless of which service, is compressed a bit, so it doesn't quite look as good as you get from a 4K disc or a Blu-ray disc. That's kind of the backdraft of streaming. You don't get as good picture quality as you do with the disc. Also, this has a Dolby Atmos track, and Criterion doesn't do a lot of Dolby Atmos tracks. They typically don't.
They bring it out for Scorsese.
Yeah, even for like modern, maybe for the more modern stuff, because we'll see when they bring out Frankenstein, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, that has a Dolby Atmos track to it. But this one does, and the music in this movie is also really good. It was nominated for an Oscar, I think, for Best Original Score. Oh, was it Robbie? Can't remember who did it from the band. Why am I gonna completely blank on this right now?
I don't know.
I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up while I talk about the rest of this. There is also a press conference that was done at the Cannes Film Festival, which this movie was shown at, and that's always nice. I love when we get the Cannes Film Festival stuff, because even if you follow the Cannes Film Festival when it happens, you don't see a lot of footage from there. At least not that I can remember. Stevie, can you remember any of that?
No, I don't.
No,
I don't. I'll be honest with you. I don't watch the Cannes Film Festival press conference.
I don't even know where to watch the Cannes Film Festival press
I'm sure they
conference.
have a YouTube account. It wouldn't surprise me.
I never even thought of that.
Come on, man. You're on YouTube.
Yeah, Robbie Robertson was, and he passed away, I believe, before this movie. I think after this movie came out or before this movie came out, but he was in the band, and he's been working with Martin Scorsese since the Last Waltz documentary from the 70s.
Yeah,
which is one of the best like music documentaries of all time. And then there's a short program on here on Noah Kamoha's cover art. So this is Noah Kamoha is an Osage artist, and he did the cover art for this release here.
Awesome.
So that is Killers of the Flower Moon, just to open it up to give people a little look-see here.
Oh, I like that.
So you get a shot from the movie. This is like the opening shot of the movie where they discover the oil on the Osage land. And then, of course, on the inside, there's 3 discs, actually. So this is the 4K, the one that's in black, and then you get the Blu-ray of the movie, and then you get a special features disc. So all the special features are on this 3rd disc here. And then, of course, a booklet as well, which shows Leonardo DiCaprio.
Look at him.
Yeah, it's like a little shot there of him. And then you get inside here, it's a picture of Martin Scorsese. Nice. So that's about it.
All right. Well, excuse
Losing my voice.
Well, that's it for this Criterion review. Of course, like I said, go check out the rest of the month. See if you like anything. See if you want to pick up anything. You can always go. We'll have it in the links in the description here for the links to these 2 releases. two well worth pickups, of course. And yeah, we will see you again next month with hopefully a couple more to talk about. So if you're not already subscribed to here on Chasing Labels, go ahead and do that for us. And so you can come back and watch us again. And if you just want to hear the audio, you can go to Apple or Spotify, and then you can hear anything that we're doing over there. And thank you once again, and we'll see you next time.